Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. We're going to be checking out Seth Godin's The Icarus Deception.
Oh, cool.
We've got both the audiobook and the ebook versions for this one, so that's kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
I think most of us, growing up, we heard that story about Icarus flying too close to the sun.
Mhm.
And you know what Godin does? He kind of flips that whole idea on its head.
Really?
Yeah, he's saying the real danger isn't aiming too high, it's actually aiming too low, like playing it too safe.
Mm.
So he's basically saying we're all capable of being artists in our own way, but we let fear kind of hold us back.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He's challenging that idea we all have, that success means you got to follow the predetermined path.
Right.
Get that safe job and
Yep.
avoid risk at all costs.
Yeah.
But he's saying true fulfillment comes from embracing your creativity, your unique perspective,
Yeah.
and making work that matters,
Yeah.
whatever that looks
Yeah.
like for you.
I got to admit, when I first started reading this, I was like, wait, everyone's an artist?
Yeah.
Even me.
Yep.
But then I started thinking about those times when I've really felt alive.
Yeah.
Really engaged. It
Uh-huh.
wasn't when I was, playing it safe. It was when I was pushing myself creatively,
Yeah.
taking risks,
Yeah.
putting myself out there. And Godin's book really gives you permission to do that.
It does. It's about recognizing that art isn't limited to just those traditional forms.
Right.
Like painting, music, whatever. It's about bringing that same passion and intentionality to everything you do.
Mm.
And Godin gives some really interesting examples. Like he talks about Steve Martin,
Oh, yeah.
the comedian.
Yeah.
You might think, oh, he's just naturally funny. But Godin points out that Martin spent years
Yeah.
honing his craft, observing audiences, constantly refining his act. He treated comedy as a serious art form.
He did. And it's not just the big names either. Like
Yeah.
he talks about Paco Underhill. Have you heard of him?
I'm not.
Okay, so he's a retail anthropologist.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I know, right? Retail anthropologist. Didn't sound that interesting to me at first either. But Underhill observed shoppers, like with this crazy attention to detail.
Wow.
He noticed that women, for instance, they tend to avoid those really narrow aisles where they might bump into other customers.
Interesting.
And then he uses that insight to redesign store layouts and increase sales.
Wow.
So it's all about finding the art in the unexpected, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's about understanding that you don't need permission to be an artist.
Right.
He talks about Jenny Rosenstrack. She started by just documenting her family meals.
Okay.
Nothing fancy. But she did it with so much passion and attention that led to a blog, a cookbook, a whole career.
Wow.
She picked herself. She didn't wait for someone to discover her.
That's so inspiring. And it challenges that whole traditional model of waiting for a gatekeeper to say, okay, you're good enough.
Right.
It's like Godin saying you have the power to create your own opportunities.
You do.
But let's be honest, that's easier said than done.
It is.
I know I struggle with self-doubt all the time. That voice in my head that says, who are you to think you can do this?
Oh, yeah. He calls that the lizard brain.
Mhm.
And we all have it. It's that primal fear of failure, of judgment, of standing out from the crowd.
Right.
And it can be so paralyzing. But Godin says the key is to recognize that fear is natural.
Okay.
It's actually part of the process. It doesn't mean you're not cut out for it.
So it's not about silencing that voice completely.
Exactly. It's about learning to manage it.
Okay.
Godin suggests focusing on the process, not the outcome. Embrace the possibility of failure. Even see it as a necessary part of growth.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like if you're so scared of falling,
Yeah.
you'll never learn to ride a bike.
Right.
You have to be willing to wobble a bit, maybe even skin your knee,
Yeah.
but eventually you find your balance.
And think about it. Some of the most innovative, groundbreaking work came from people who weren't afraid to fail. They were willing to experiment, to take risks, to put their ideas out there, even if they weren't perfect.
That's true.
That's what separates the artists from the imitators.
So how do we start shifting that mindset? How do we move from fear of failure to a focus on the process?
Well, Godin talks about this idea of the connection economy. It's a shift from valuing mass production to valuing genuine connection.
Okay.
So think about those mediocre sushi bars that use electric rice cookers
Yeah.
versus those amazing ones that use gas.
Right.
The gas cookers are less predictable. They require more skill.
Right.
But the result is so much richer.
It's like the electric rice cooker is the safe option, the predictable path.
Right.
But the gas cooker, that's where the art comes
Yeah.
in. You have to trust your instincts and your expertise.
Exactly. And Godin uses another example. He compares the benefit a YouTube creator gets from making a video
Okay.
to the benefit a viewer gets from watching it. He says that the act of creation itself has inherent value in this connection economy.
Oh, interesting. So it's about shifting from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset. It's
Yeah.
not about asking, what can I get? It's about, what can I contribute?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that leads us to one of Godin's most powerful concepts. Pick yourself.
Yes. Rejecting that old model of waiting for permission, and instead building your own platform, connecting with your audience, creating your own opportunities.
Exactly. He uses Jenny Rosenstrack's example again. She didn't wait for a publisher to discover her. She built an audience through her blog, and that's what led to the book deal. She took ownership of her creative journey.
I like that. And then there's Hugh Weber. He's building a thriving artistic community in South Dakota.
Right.
Not exactly known for being an art hub.
Not really.
But he's proving you can make meaningful art anywhere if you have the passion and the drive.
It's true.
It's like he's saying, forget the gatekeepers. You have the power to create your own stage.
And that's the beauty of Godin's message. It's a call to action,
Yeah.
a challenge to step up and embrace our creative potential, to stop waiting and start creating.
So what does this all mean for our listeners? What's the one thing you want them to take away from this first part of our deep dive?
You are capable of more than you think. You have a unique voice, a unique perspective, something valuable to offer the world. Don't let fear hold you back. Embrace the artist within you and start creating work that matters.
I like that.
It's a journey, not a destination, but it's a journey worth taking.
It is. So we've talked about how we all have this inner artist, just waiting to be unleashed.
We do.
But I think a lot of us are probably thinking like, okay, but where do I even start? It can feel overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're right. It's one thing to say, I'm an artist,
Yeah.
but it's another to actually, put it into practice.
Exactly. So how do we bridge that gap? Where do we even begin?
Well, Godin talks about domain knowledge. He says it's not enough to just have passion. You need to really understand your field, like all the ins and outs.
So if you want to be a writer, you need to read books, study grammar, understand storytelling.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a musician learning scales or an athlete studying the playbook.
Okay.
You got to know the rules before you can break them.
And I guess that makes sense. The more you know, the more tools you have, the more freedom you have to experiment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the actual creating part.
Right.
Godin says a lot of people get stuck in the planning phase. They overthink everything. They're afraid to put their work out there, afraid of judgment and criticism.
Oh, the lizard brain again.
Right.
Always right there.
Always lurking. So Godin's advice, ship it.
Ship it.
Don't wait for it to be perfect.
Yeah.
Just get your work out there. Let it connect with people.
I love that, ship it. It reminds me of that saying, done is better than perfect.
Exactly. And Godin talks about embracing the blank slate.
Okay.
It's about letting go of all those preconceived notions
I hear.
and approaching everything with a sense of openness and possibility.
So instead of asking, what should I do?
Yeah.
You're asking, what's possible?
Right. He says, the first thing a consultant asks is, what's your budget? The second thing is, what do you think you should do?
And he's saying both of those questions limit creativity.
They do. They box you in. Instead, he says, start with a blank slate.
Yeah.
Let go of assumptions and explore every possibility.
That's cool. Now, of course, once you put your work out there, you open yourself up to feedback.
Right.
And not all feedback is created equal.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Godin talks about feedback being either a crutch or a weapon.
A weapon? That's kind of intense.
Well, he's saying that if you use feedback to make your work smaller, safer, more likely to please everyone, then it's a crutch. You're letting fear win.
But if you use it to push yourself further, to embrace what scares you and explore new possibilities, then it's a weapon against mediocrity.
That's it. It's about using feedback to make your work stronger.
And I think that leads into the idea of finding your tribe, finding your community.
It does. Godin talks about building relationships with other artists, with creators of all kinds, not just in your field, but anyone who gets the whole creative process.
Yeah, it's like having a support system. People who get you, who can challenge you, inspire you, and keep you accountable.
Exactly. And it's about sharing your work, even if it's not perfect. Remember that YouTube example?
Yeah.
The creator often gets more out of making the video than the viewer does from watching it.
That's true. It's about shifting your focus from the outcome to the process.
Yes.
From the applause to the actual act of creation.
And that brings us to something that's often seen as the opposite of art business.
Right. Like those two worlds are supposed to be totally separate.
But Godin disagrees. He says artists need to understand business. They need to know how to market their work, how to build a platform, how to connect with people.
It's like that sushi example again. You know, the electric rice cooker versus the gas cooker.
Uh-huh.
You can play it safe and make something boring, or you can take a risk and create something amazing.
Exactly. And Godin introduces this concept of the impresario.
And I'll admit, I had to look that one up.
I did too.
It's like someone who brings people together,
Yeah.
creates experiences, curates connection.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
So it's not just about making art in isolation.
Okay,
It's about finding ways to share it with the world, to build a community around it.
It's like being a conductor, leading an orchestra. You bring all these different elements together, these talented people, and create something beautiful.
I love that analogy. It really does capture what Godin's talking about.
So how do we start thinking like these impresarios? What are some things we can do?
Well, first you need to figure out who your audience is.
Okay.
Who are you trying to reach? What are their needs and wants?
And then figure out how to connect with them authentically.
Right. It's not about manipulation or tricking people. It's about building relationships, creating something that truly resonates with them.
And that takes understanding the business side.
It does.
Knowing how to get your work out there, how to promote yourself, how to, build a sustainable creative practice.
Exactly. It's about seeing business as a tool, not the enemy. It's about using it to amplify your message and reach more people.
So it's not about selling out. It's about showing up.
I like that. It's about owning your creativity, owning your value, and sharing it.
Now, all this talk about art and business, it's inspiring, but let's be real. We're all human. We want people to see our work. We want to know that it matters.
That's true. Godin talks about this too. He talks about the difference between the industrial model of success,
Okay.
which is all about external validation, money, fame, awards.
Right.
And the artist's model,
Which is?
which is about making a real impact, connecting with people on a deeper level.
So it's about focusing on the internal rewards of creating instead of chasing that external validation. I know I struggle with that.
Me too. It's easy to get caught up in the numbers, the likes, the followers.
But it comes back to why we create in the first place.
It does.
Is it to please other people? Or is it to express something true about ourselves?
And if it's the second one,
Yeah.
then the external stuff becomes less important.
Because the act of creation is its own reward.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And Godin makes a really interesting point about failure.
Mm-hmm.
He says, your biggest failure isn't that big thing you tried that blew up in your face. Your biggest failure is that thing you dreamed of doing, but didn't have the guts to actually do.
Wow, that's powerful. So it's not just about avoiding failure. It's about having the courage to try, even if you might fail.
Because the cost of not trying is so much greater than the cost of failing.
Mm.
Godin says we need to shift our thinking from what if I fail to what if I succeed.
I like that. And that goes back to picking yourself, right?
Yes,
Taking control of your own journey and not waiting for someone to give you the green light.
exactly. It's about recognizing that you have the power to make your own opportunities, to build your own platform, to connect with your audience.
And embracing those imperfections.
Yeah, the rough edges, the things that make your work unique.
I love that. Embrace the rough edges. It's like saying, this is me, this is my art, take it or leave it.
Exactly, and that kind of honesty is what connects with people. It makes you stand out.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away?
You are an artist. You have something valuable to share with the world. Don't be afraid to pick yourself. Embrace the journey. Embrace the rough edges. Embrace the power of picking yourself.
Yeah. It's funny, we talk about all these big ideas like being an artist and making a difference.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's the little things that trip us up.
What do you mean?
Well, like we were saying earlier, that fear of failure, it can be paralyzing.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's held me back before.
I think it's happened to all of us at some point. It's that lizard brain Godin talks about.
But right, that primal part of us that just wants to stay safe.
Exactly. It wants to protect us, which is good, when there's real danger.
Right.
But when it comes to creative stuff, it can really stop us from doing what we want.
It tells us to play it safe, don't rock the boat. But Godin is all about doing the opposite.
He is. He wants us to embrace risk, challenge the status quo, put ourselves out there.
So how do we quiet that lizard brain? How do we push past the fear and actually do something?
I don't think it's about making it completely silent. It's more like we have to learn to dance with it.
Dance with it. That's a cool way to put it.
It means you see the fear, it's there, but you don't let it be the boss.
Yeah.
You take action anyway.
And trust that you'll figure things out as you go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that saying, feel the fear and do it anyway.
I like that. And I think that's where having other people around can help.
Oh, definitely. A supportive community.
People who understand what you're going through.
Yeah, they encourage you, they keep you accountable.
It's like a safety net.
Yeah.
You know, you might stumble, but you won't fall all the way.
Exactly. And it's also about celebrating the small wins, along the way.
Yeah.
Seeing the progress even if other people don't notice it yet.
Because sometimes the biggest changes happen in those quiet moments, when you're not trying to impress anyone, just creating because you love it.
Exactly. I think that's really what Godin is trying to say.
Yeah.
It's not about some big show of success.
Right.
It's about that feeling you get when you create something. It's its own reward.
It's about the journey, embracing all of it. The good, the bad, the messy parts.
All the rough edges. Those are the things that make it yours, that make it special.
And I think that's something everyone can relate to. It doesn't matter what you're passionate about. We all want to create, to express ourselves.
We all want to leave our mark on the world.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Icarus deception, what's the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with?
I want them to remember this. You are an artist. You have something special inside you. Don't be afraid to pick yourself, to really embrace your creativity. Make work that matters to you.
That's a great message. And for those who are ready to take that next step, what's one piece of advice you'd give them?
Start small. Don't overthink it. Pick one thing you've been wanting to create and just go for it. Don't wait until it's perfect. Just start. See what happens.
I love that. Just start. It's simple, but so powerful. And remember, everyone, we're all in this together. Find your people, share your work, and keep creating.
You never know. You might just inspire someone else to find their own inner artist.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Seth Godin's The Icarus Deception. We hope you got some new ideas and feel ready to unleash your own creativity.
Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep creating. The world needs your art.